One decision can destroy everything. Not over years, not slowly, not with warning signs you can clearly see coming, but instantly, in a moment so small, so ordinary, that you almost ignore it. That's what makes it dangerous. Because the most life-changing decisions don't feel important when you make them. They feel small, harmless, temporary. They feel like something you can always fix later. But later is a luxury life doesn't always give you. This is the part no one tells you. You are always one decision away from a completely different life. Not 5 decisions. Not a long chain of events. Just one. One yes, one no. One moment where you either act or don't. And everything that comes after is shaped by that single point in time. The man in this story didn't think his life would change that day. He wasn't standing at the edge of something dramatic. There was no big opportunity, no obvious risk. Just a normal day, a routine, the kind of day you don't remember, the kind of day that blends into every other day of your life. He woke up early, just like always. The alarm rang. He turned it off. For a second, he stared at the ceiling. That quiet moment between sleep and responsibility. And in that moment, something felt different. Not wrong, just heavier. Like his mind was carrying something he couldn't fully explain. He reached for his phone. Notifications, messages, emails, the usual noise. But instead of reacting immediately, he paused. And that pause, that tiny delay in his routine, was the beginning of everything. Because when you interrupt a habit, you create space. And in that space, new thoughts appear. What if I didn't do this today? It wasn't a loud thought. It didn't demand attention. It just existed. Calm, subtle, almost invisible, but powerful. Because that thought challenged something deeper. Structure, discipline, identity. Everything he had built his life around. For years, he had followed a path. Wake up, work, improve, repeat. It wasn't exciting, but it was stable, predictable, safe. And safety has a cost. It creates pressure, invisible pressure, the kind that builds slowly over time. Expectations from others, expectations from yourself, the constant need to stay consistent, to not fall behind, to not lose what you've built. And eventually, that pressure starts to feel like a weight. Not unbearable, but always there, in the background. And when you carry that weight long enough, your mind starts looking for relief, even if it's just for a moment. That's when dangerous thoughts begin. Just one day won't matter. Everyone deserves a break. I'll get back on track tomorrow. Each of those thoughts sounds reasonable, logical, even healthy. But together, they create something else. Permission. Permission to step away. Permission to break the pattern. Permission to choose differently. And once you give yourself permission, the decision is already halfway made. He sat there for a few seconds, then a few more. The clock was moving. Time didn't stop just because he hesitated. But, in his mind, everything slowed down. Because he was negotiating with himself, balancing responsibility against desire, structure against freedom, long-term consequences against short-term relief. And in that moment, short-term relief felt stronger. So, he made the choice. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just quietly. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. Instead, he chose something else, something easier, something more comfortable, something that felt good in the moment. And at first, nothing happened. No consequences, no immediate problems, no sense of danger, just a feeling, relief, freedom, like he had taken control, like he had broken out of something that had been holding him back. And that feeling is the trap, because when a bad decision feels good, you stop questioning it, you stop analyzing it, you stop thinking about what comes next, you just enjoy it. Minutes passed, then hours. Time moved forward like it always does, but now it was moving in a different direction, away from the life he was supposed to be living. His phone started vibrating. Messages, calls, notifications, each one pulling him back toward reality. Where are you? Are you coming? Is everything okay? At first, he ignored them, not intentionally, just passively, because answering them would mean confronting the decision. And as long as he avoided that, he could pretend everything was still under control. But control is an illusion. The longer you avoid reality, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, you have to face it. And when he finally looked at his phone, the weight of that decision hit him. Not all at once, but enough to feel it. Enough to realize this wasn't just a small mistake anymore. It was becoming something bigger, because decisions have momentum. They don't stay still. They grow. They expand. They connect to other parts of your life. And before you realize it, they start changing things you didn't expect. By the time he responded, it was already different. The tone, the energy, the perception, trust had shifted. Not broken completely, but cracked. And once trust cracks, everything else becomes fragile. When the truth fully came out, there was no explosion, no dramatic confrontation, just silence. A quiet understanding that something had changed. People didn't react strongly. They didn't need to, because disappointment is often quieter than anger, and much heavier. The way they looked at him changed. Slightly, but enough. Enough to feel it in every interaction. Enough to realize that things would not go back to how they were. And that's when regret begins. Not in the moment of the decision, but after, when you see the consequences, when you understand the impact, when you realize it could have been different. Regret doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows up in quiet moments. When you're alone, when there's nothing to distract you, when your mind starts replaying everything. What if I had just done the right thing? That question becomes constant, persistent, unavoidable. And the more you think about it, the clearer it becomes. You knew better. You understood the risk. You just chose to ignore it. And that realization is what makes it painful, because it means you were in control. You had the power to choose differently, and you didn't. That's the true cost of a decision. Not just what you lose, but knowing you were the one who lost it. No excuses. No one else to blame. Just you. And that truth changes the way you see everything. It makes you more aware, more cautious, more reflective. Because once you've experienced that kind of consequence, you don't look at decisions the same way again. You start asking different questions. Not, what do I want right now? But, what will this cost me later? Because everything has a cost. Time, energy, trust, opportunities, peace of mind. Some costs are small, barely noticeable. Others change your entire life. The problem is, you don't always know which is which until it's too late. So what happened to him? Did he recover? Did he fix everything? Did life go back to normal? No, because life doesn't reset. There is no undo button. No second version of the same moment. No chance to go back and choose differently. But there is something else. There is learning, growth, awareness. If you're willing to face the truth, he didn't get his old life back, but he built something new, something stronger. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Because it was built on understanding, on responsibility, on the awareness that every decision matters, even the small ones, especially the small ones, because they are the ones you underestimate, the ones you don't think about, the ones you assume won't change anything, until they do. until one moment becomes a turning point, until one decision becomes a defining factor, until one choice changes everything. So the next time you hesitate, the next time you feel that small voice telling you to take the easy path, pause, not for long, just enough to think, and ask yourself one question: what will this cost me later? Because your life is not built on intentions. It's built on decisions. Every single day. In moments so small you barely notice them. And one decision is all it takes to change everything.